China is retaliating a week after Ottawa slapped tariffs on Chinese-made electric vehicles, steel and aluminum. Beijing is now launching an anti-dumping investigation into Canadian canola imports. CBC's Olivia Stefanovich reports.
In the rush to get the golden crop out of the ground, news of China targeting Canadian canola imports is the last thing farmers say they needed to hear.
So this is a big hit to Saskatchewan producers and to all canola producers in the country. It will be a massive hit to us.
Canada is the world's largest canola exporter. More than half of its seeds go to China, where the grain is used for cooking oil and renewable fuels. A trade relationship worth more than $5 billion last year. In a statement read by state media, the Chinese Commerce Ministry made it clear its investigation into Canadian canola imports and some Canadian chemical products is in response to what Beijing considers to be a discriminatory move by Ottawa.
We will be introducing a 100% tariff on Chinese-made electric vehicles and a 25% tariff on Chinese steel and aluminum.
A pressure tactic the federal government is now defending in the face of Chinese retaliation.
We have to make sure that the industries that we build in this country have the ability to get off their feet. That's exactly what we're going to be doing.
But there are fears that may come at farmers' expense.
In the case of canola, this is an easy target for China that they have used a number of times in the last 10 years.
In 2019, China suspended 2 Canadian canola exporters before removing the restrictions 3 years later. A move seen likely in response to the arrest of Huawei executive Meng Wanzhou.
The fact that they are calling this an anti-dumping investigation, it's all preordained. We know that they will impose a tariff. I expect that it will be 100% similar to the tariff imposed on Chinese EVs.
China says it's turning to the World Trade Organization to resolve this dispute with Canada. Meanwhile, the federal government says it's prepared to defend its agriculture sector as farmers remain caught in the middle of another tit-for-tat trade battle over matters beyond their control. Olivia Stefanovich, CBC News, Ottawa.
Canada's Minister of Agriculture is responding to the move from the Chinese government. Lawrence Macaulay writes, "Our producers depend on and play by a rules-based global trading order that provides reliable market access. Today's announcement is deeply concerning, and I am working with my colleagues across government and in the sector to monitor developments closely. The quality of Canadian canola is well known around the world. We will continue to defend and support the sector every step of the way." Now, my next guest is someone who could feel this impact the hardest. Jennifer Doelman is a canola farmer. She's also the provincial director of the Ontario Canola Growers Association, and she joins us from Douglas, Ontario, out in one of her fields. Thanks so much, Jennifer, for taking the time.
Thanks very much for having us, and it sounds like you've done a good job covering so far.
Oh, well, that's great. What a beautiful shot. I understand that given the date, it's September now, that you're actually going to be back out in the field planting your winter canola tomorrow. And given the headlines that we're seeing, I'm wondering how it's going to feel to be out there planting that crop.
Well, as you kind of talked about, this isn't the first trade barrier that we've had to face. In farming, we don't get into it for the great hours, the great pay, but there's a good view from our office. This is, just one more pothole on the road. It's definitely going to have a major impact, possibly more so for my Western counterparts than for myself in Ontario, because we thankfully have 3 crushers in Eastern Canada. One's been on strike all year, but hopefully they open again soon. But this definitely devastates the price for everybody. And it's just one more chink away at it. It definitely makes us concerned. It's already dropped the price, and but at the same time, farmers, we think generationally, right? We're thinking systems. So I have my crop plan for the next few years already planned based on crop rotation, based on helping reduce pest risk, work on biodiversity, keep my beneficials doing well, and just manage our workload. So we've got spring canola going here, and then we're trying some winter canola. It's a newer crop to Canada. And we'll be planting it tomorrow if all goes well, just so that we can have more crop growing over the winter and spread out again a bit of our risk. But yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm glad for my off-farm income right now.
Let me ask you, how important a client is China when you're a canola farmer?
It is, well, they're our second biggest, right? So we have many wonderful clients all around the world that buy our canola because it's really good quality. However, when you've got a couple big customers, like thankfully we've also got the United States, but China is right up there. And obviously when the big kid on the playground doesn't want to play, there's implications. So China's still going to need canola. They'll just be getting canola from other places. And it's just, you know, we're in a position where Canada is very resource rich. Our farmers are professional. We grow a very good crop. We're very So we're going to keep doing what necessarily something that was within our control or even our actions that caused this. But at the same time, we recognize the need for the decisions that they've made. So,
Jennifer, you mentioned that it might affect your colleagues out west more so than yourself in Ontario. Can you explain that? Why would Western canola, because certainly it's a big crop in Alberta, I know, and elsewhere in the West. Why are they more affected?
Well, simply because it's a lot bigger. There's a lot more crop grown out west than here in the east, and they're closer to China. So for me, whenever canola gets shipped, we send it to the crushers here in Ontario, and it goes out by the St. Lawrence Seaway. But for them, it goes out as canola seed to China, which is the next neighbor across the pond, essentially. So a lot of their market is made as efficient as possible to transport by rail, which is already some interruptions. Put it so, you know, if canola is not leaving either to the United States or to China, then it's getting backlogged, and then it affects their ability to even be able to, you know, ship crops.
Is there an argument to be made that Canada is shipping too much canola to China? I mean, that's the argument that the Chinese government is making, that it is affecting negatively their own canola producers. What would you say to that?
We grow a lot more than they do, and so does Australia. So I'm not a diplomat, and I obviously am not a trade expert. So all I can say is that we do canola very well, and they also do canola well, but they also have many other crops. And typically we grow where we thrive, where we do best. So I would have a really hard time understanding the fact that there is too much canola. Usually when they're talking dumping, from my understanding, it comes down to pricing. And so in that case, it's not so much that there's too much produced, it's just maybe they're concerned about our cost of production.
Jennifer, finally, let me ask you, how does it feel as a canola farmer? You know, this is, as you say, has happened once before and was likely tied to a diplomatic dispute. And now, once again, it would seem that this is a retaliatory move to another move that Canada has made that is negatively affecting China. But ultimately, it's the canola farmer that keeps taking the hits here. Talk to me about how that sits with farmers.
So a few things. One is, isn't it great that it shows just how important canola is to Canada when that is often the first target? I think maybe we forget that, you know, there are some really important industries that maybe aren't as sexy, but that we can always count on to help deliver safe, consistent food supply. You know, because canola seed goes for so many different products that are so important both nationally and around the world. But the other thing is yeah, sometimes you start to feel a little bit of a pity party between fertilizer tariffs and rail strikes and labor strikes, because again, we can't ship our canola right now to the place we have canola sold well to because they're still on strike, and I don't even have school buses this week because they're on strike. And I kind of wonder some days when farmers get to actually get fair wages, but I'm happy other people have those rights.
Well, Jennifer, as you say, you don't do it for maybe anything other than the view, but you certainly have a great view there. So, Jennifer Doelman, a canola farmer, really appreciate talking to you tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.